I think it's quite fitting to call up Radmila Shekerinska of the Deputy Secretary General of NATO. Radmila, please give a big hand to Radmila, please. Welcome. Welcome. I don't know if you have a story to tell from back then, but
I might have been somewhere in the background.
Oh, really?
Well,
no kidding.
I have lived all my life in the capital in Skopje, but when the conflict started, I did travel to Tetovo, and I participated in the negotiations for the peace agreement in Ohrid. So I actually know firsthand the value of EU-NATO cooperation, but also whenever we talk about how Europe or how NATO believed in peace dividend, I said, well, not all of us did. I mean, we never took peace and security for granted. So if I use the parallel, the trees, the forest, actually there is even a bigger picture, and this is that without peace and security, all that we plan for becomes nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
And I believe that this is very much back on our agenda.
Mm-hmm. And how much is that on the agenda in this little get together in Ankara coming up, the NATO summit?
Yeah.
And can we slide over to fuels? How much is fuel security going to be talked about? Probably, right? Considering the war in Iran, considering the war in Ukraine, right?
Well, you're absolutely right. We are now preparing for our summit in Ankara, taking place just in a month. In the meantime, we'll gather all the defense ministers. We had the meeting of the foreign ministers a few weeks ago in Sweden. So this is all to pave the way towards a summit that will focus basically on three things. You remember last year's summit in The Hague was all about cash. 5% of GDP, 3.5% aimed at core defense topics, and 1.5 on other defense related, including energy, by the way. But the summit, and we made it a success. But now in Ankara, it will be about translating these cash commitments into real capabilities.
Right.
And it will be about supporting our defense industry and its capacity to produce at scale and the speed that is, I believe, essential for our security. And of course, it will be, again, about continuing to support Ukraine. So these three things will be prominent. And that's probably the first message for today. But the second message, I think, rings bell more directly into this audience. And this is, we are focused on getting the right capabilities. We invest a lot of money in them. But we can have the best capabilities, the most sophisticated weaponry. If we don't have the right energy to power it, it becomes useless. It's worthless.
Right. So how much are you worried then about what we've been talking about all morning, about the declining fuel capacity here in Europe itself?
So we have been talking about these issues both internally within NATO, focusing very much on the issue, focusing on what can we do, for example, the fuel supply line leading especially towards our eastern flank. But we were also liaising a lot with EU and the colleagues in some of the member states and some of the allies to make this point very clear. Energy is, defense is energy hungry. It has always been energy hungry. We go back to some of the data from Desert Storm, for example. In the course of this operation, U.S. Air Forces spent 32% of the total kerosene German annual consumption.
Wow.
In the course of the month, with the fiercest activity, they have spent 10 daily Polish consumptions. So this is how it was.
Right.
I'm here to tell you that now the hunger is even bigger because the F-35s have or demand 60% more fuel than F-16s. And the same thing is true for ships and for frigates and tanks. So we need, in order for all this to work, we need to keep the fuel available. Of course, we need the batteries for the drones. We need the energy for our factories and our radars.
Right.
So all these things become part of our, in a way, security environment. And the third message maybe for this audience is that unfortunately, especially when we talk about fuel, the math does not add. And that's almost a security concern.
It
Because
doesn't
on
add up.
one side,
How does it not add up?
well, I said the energy demand on a defense side is increasing as we speak.
Right.
And at the same time, the comments we get from you, from some of our EU colleagues, is that the refining capacity is decreasing. And
Right.
we have had some discussions, and officials told us that it could diminish 80% by 2050, especially in Europe.
Right.
So I remember having very recently a North Atlantic Council meeting dedicated to our resilience, especially focusing on some of the energy needs. And someone said that a continent that cannot refine cannot mobilize, and then it cannot defend. So this is very, very high on our agenda.
So how does this, at this summit, how can that be dealt with?
What the Secretary General was very clear from the beginning of his mandate was NATO will focus on our core business, what we do the best. And this is why our focus was very much military capabilities, interoperability, military standards, command and control, training, things like this.
Right.
And then we will liaise with those that have more, let's say, not only expertise, but actually authority to define. So we liaise and discuss these issues very much with the EU.
With the EU and,
Yeah.
and the member countries.
And the member countries. We focus, I mentioned the fuel supply chain.
Yeah.
We need our fuel not only all the time, we need it at the place where we have the jets, where
Yeah.
we have our military capabilities. And this is why there are ongoing discussions about how can we make this very important investment, which is not just an investment in fuel supply, it's an investment in our security.
Yeah.
We do believe that we can do more on, and we need the activity and the action of both governments, industry, such as the one represented here, but also organizations such as ours. We do believe that some of the alternative fuel supplies can mitigate some of the risks,
Yeah.
but we also need to make sure that we have the fuel available.
Well, exactly. That's what I want to get to too. Is this idea of decarbonization? Because there are armies that are trying to do this, including in the U.S. They're trying to decarbonize or make a shift. How do you balance, though, these decarbonization objectives with the security of supply? Hopefully, it's not a trade-off.
We believe that we need to have our energy supplies available at every single day, in every single crisis, for every single circumstances.
Right.
And then we can. I mean, we listen to the discussion about some of these alternative liquid fuels. We do believe that they can offer mitigation, but until we're there,
Yeah.
we have to make sure that our jets and ships and tanks are fully equipped.
Because that production of like biofuels and
Yeah,
things like
it
that,
takes
that
time.
can be produced at home,
Y-
right?
a-
That gives
we
us
have to-
energy sovereignty, independence, doesn't it?
We have to make sure that we have not only the production, we also have the supply going until the very last post where we need it.
Indeed.
We need the storage to be available. And an element where I think we need to discuss these things from both perspectives. Yes, defense needs energy, but also energy needs security. And if we have learned something from the Russian war of aggression in Ukraine, but also from their hybrid actions in our neighborhood, and also from the evolving developments in the Middle East and in the Strait of Hormuz,
Yeah.
is that our critical energy infrastructure is also threatened. And this is an element that we have to calculate within our defense plans.
Right.
We have seen hybrid Russian actions focusing very much on our critical infrastructure, very much on our energy. And it's not just production capacity, it's also the storage, it's depots, it's import terminals, all these things. We have to make sure that they're protected.
Yeah.
What we have seen also is Russian spy ships mapping undersea critical infrastructure.
All right.
So on all of these things, our job is also to feature these concerns prominently into our defense plans. So now when we are creating these kinds of networks, cooperation with industry, cooperation with allies, to map actually the exact locations where we need strengthened deterrence and defense.
How much have these two wars shocked us out of complacency?
Well, we believe in lessons learned. Sometimes, historians will tell you it's incredible how we stop knowing the things that we once knew. Unfortunately, there is a reoccurring need to remind ourselves. There was also a lesson learned from our dependence on Russia cheap fuel, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Was this anticipated? Did NATO foresee any of this?
we
Or
have,
were we just complacent and took it all for granted?
back in 2014, which is, 12 years ago, we said we need to invest more in our security. And we made the pledge for 2%. And then 10 years passed, and even after the Russian second attack to Ukraine in 2020, the full-blown war, still not all allies were at 2%. And I really believe that the Hague Summit, in that respect, was really a game changer. We committed not only to more investment in our security, but we also recommitted to this wider understanding of security. It's not just the core military capabilities that we need. We need to think about our resilience.
Yeah.
We need to think about our energy supply. We need to think also about our defense industry. This was not the traditional thinking.
Right.
In years ago, we would say, okay, this is the government's, and there is a distance, and then there is defense industry. Defense industry is part of our deterrence and defense. And for this industry to produce with scale and speed, they also need energy, and they need to be competitive. So it's, in a way, all these things put together. We also have to make sure that as we move towards more renewables, we don't end up being dependent on other countries, which are our strategic competitors.
Diversifying.
So diversifying, keeping production closer to home, keeping reserves closer to home, all these things, they matter not only to our economy, not only to our competitiveness, but my message here is they do matter very much to our security.
I know this says 8 minutes left, but I have to state a time, and we're almost at 2 o'clock. Any further thoughts that you have before we wrap this up?
Let me just say that we have appreciated very much the dialogue that we have had with industry, with allies, because we believe that we now have the aggregated, more or less, military demand. We know what we need. We know the time frames. Now there is a need for more interaction. How can we be more practical? Because having these goals in 20 years is a no-go.
Right.
We actually, when we committed to increase defense spending, we set a goal of 2035. The 5% pledge should be met by all allies, but in 10 years, which is long. But it is basically tomorrow. But even in such a demanding circumstances, quite a number of allies have actually set goals even more ambitious than this one. So quite a number of allies will deliver on defense investment or defense spending by 2030. Some of them are already there. But what we need to make sure is, we do a burden sharing, which is equalized. So all allies should be there, the sooner the better.
Right.
We have engaged into building a so-called NATO 3.0, in which European allies and Canada will do more for its conventional deterrence. But this endeavor will continue to be transatlantic. And my maybe last message is also take this into consideration when thinking about energy as well, because we need more energy on both sides of the Atlantic. We need more in the defense investment on both sides of the Atlantic, and we do need more defense production both here and our colleagues across the Atlantic. So my call is that we are stronger doing this together.
Stronger together. Thank you so much, Radmila. Thank you. Big hand, Radmila, please. Shekerinska. Thank you so much.